Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Beth.
I'm Jess.
Robin. Joy.
And we're all members of Tampa Bay Spirits.
Bay Spirits.
And both of our Facebook pages went down 1 minute into the live stream. Again. All right.
One stayed on longer than the other.
Robert, are you still there? I know Robert said hello earlier, and I hope he's still here.
He was on YouTube.
YouTube. I'm not sure. I think he thought the show started at 7 because our other show starts at 7. Oh, well. Oh, how is everybody? Oh, let me see.
He's here.
Yeah.
He's here. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Facebook's down again, Robert. I'm getting extremely frustrated. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So tonight we were going to talk about anniversaries, hauntings that happen on anniversaries.
Because
This is our 1 year anniversary show.
All right. Yay.
Yay.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Doesn't
Truly
feel like
cannot.
a year.
no,
It doesn't feel like a year. It feels like we just started.
it really does.
But Facebook told me that it was a year because I
Oh,
had
really?
about it.
That's cool. Robert White says, LOL, not much new there. How about your leg? Did you get it fitted yesterday afternoon like you were supposed to? It's early in the morning for him.
Well, did we want to tell people
Tomorrow?
about the sale first?
Okay, well, all right.
Let's do this.
All right.
We're going to advertise our store.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the team kind of sit back for a second. And we're going to show you some of our products.
Okay, so the shirts that we're wearing, that's our team logo. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. And we have lots of other logos that we use on all sorts of things like this gorgeous tote bag. Everything's on sale right now, you guys. This is fabulous. I mean, I really, really love it.
And one of our coffee mugs.
That's another logo that we have. And if can you see this here? It says Tampa Bay Spirits Paranormal Investigation. It's got a really spooky castle and creepy looking faces and stuff.
No.
And then our other another coffee mug is this one.
Yeah, that's the same, our same logo, but it has, we have lots of stuff.
Yeah, you just go to our store, TampaBaySpirits1.com.
Yeah, and you'll find lots of things, wall hangings, you know, all,
And there's everybody
all
else.
different kinds of sweaters and t-shirts, sweatshirts and t-shirts.
Yeah.
Robert White says, yeah, I got the leg fitted, actually walked between the rails more and faster than the doc thought I would. Oh, congratulations.
Good.
They kept the leg there to do more modifications to it. Well, it's an ongoing process. Marjorie Deering said, I made it. I was fishing supper out of the oven.
Sure wasn't out of the river.
And Facebook is off again, Marjorie. It worked for the first minute and then
We might just have to dump Facebook altogether. I'm getting tired of this.
I am frustrated.
Well, we'll try again to fix it tomorrow. Anyway, shall we not continue with that?
Okay, I've talked about it enough. Grumble. Jesse. Yes, we're doing the anniversary show because today is our 1 year anniversary, which is incredible. It's pretty
Very
exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Did you want to tell what you found about anniversaries?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure. Actually, so funny, Robin, because this was a challenge I found.
It
You're-
was.
I was
But Robin, Joy, and Beth all found something. I had a hard time finding anything. Paul Hollis says, "Happy anniversary."
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Paul.
Paul. It's pretty fun.
So we may have some crossover in our stories, but I was able to find and then some other cool stuff to talk about.
Your voice is being lost. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I did find a few things and then found a few things that aren't necessarily anniversary related, but I just thought would be fun to talk about also in searching for anniversary stories. And the
It was
one that
quite
we
the rabbit hole.
it was yeah, and I found cool things. I was like saving links for future episodes too. But the one that I think maybe all of us might have come across is very famous, Anne Boleyn. So the Queen of England from 1533 to 36, who was executed for treason. Her ghost has been said to appear every Christmas at Hever Castle, which was her childhood home. And they say that she will show up beneath a great oak tree where Anne and Henry courted. And her ghost also walks across the bridge, which crosses over the River Eden on the castle grounds. So that's one of the hauntings of her, which is supposed to occur every Christmas. Another haunting that happens regarding Anne Boleyn is at Blickling Hall in Norfolk, which
Yes.
that one is a little more extreme. So for this haunting, she's said to appear every year on the anniversary of her execution, which was May 19th. And this haunting has a lot more, I don't know, like pomp and circumstance. So it's much more dramatic. So she is said to be clutching her severed head and arrives in a phantom carriage. It's drawn by a headless coachman and 4 headless horses, which I'm not sure why they all don't have their heads, but
Off with their heads.
Wow.
and when she arrives, the carriage is supposed to drop her off, and then leaves her. The carriage and the horses disappear, and she roams the corridors and grounds until the sun rises.
I'll tell you what, Jesse, that's a very dramatic
That is
story.
extremely dramatic, and you would think if it truly happens every May 19th, that we would have.
Oh, yeah, the
Crowd.
news would be there taking film right
At
away.
least there'd be
Right.
some TikTok people there, right?
And so
Yeah.
Robert White says, you know that all rabbit holes exit down here, right? In Australia.
Australia. Awesome.
That's where you go when you go down the rabbit hole.
As
To
long as
Robert's farm.
as long as all the creepy crawlies from there can't get through, like the spiders and the
Giant
crocodiles.
spiders.
Yeah.
He said, how do they see? Not very well. The phantoms. But
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's
Well, she's carrying her head, so one's supposed
She
to
points it around.
see.
Robert, the
no.
horses usually have blinders on anyway when they're pulling it.
Well, they can see straight ahead.
Oh, well, that's true.
You know,
straight. I see what you did there. Straight ahead.
In Irish folklore, the banshee sometimes comes in a phantom carriage, driven by not headless horses though. They've got all their heads and hooves and everything.
How about the Tasmanian devil?
How about it?
Oh,
Like it comes through the rabbit hole, or what?
yeah,
Those are
right.
like real creatures.
I think we're derailing here. Is what I think.
You are for sure. So those are the two that I chose to bring about Anne Boleyn because they are both on anniversaries, or at least occur at the same time every year, Christmas and the anniversary of her execution. There's another haunting in Malta that I learned about. And apparently, many years ago, the niece of Grand Master de Rohan, I'm so sure I'm going to butcher all these words, but she was engaged to be married to a suitor whom she didn't love, and her father told her she, had to marry him and do what he said. And instead of doing that, um, just before the ceremony, she died by suicide, jumping off a balcony. And she was wearing her wedding gown when she passed. Now, if y'all are familiar with stories of hauntings in especially famous locations like notoriously haunted places, there is often a legend of a white lady or a gray lady or
Yeah.
a blue lady or a red lady, right? It's like, it's kind of a trope at this point, right? So they do refer to her as the White Lady. Her apparition appears, and she haunts the Verdala Palace. And a lot of people who go to the August Moon Ball, which happens every year in August there. It's like a very fancy ball gala that's put on by, um, the leaders in the area, have seen her there at the palace during the ball. So not quite an anniversary, but every August, because it's not always, doesn't it look like it's on the same weekend, but every August.
Robert White says, after seeing the lady in white, you may see the men in black. There is the brown lady in England too. They call her the brown lady. But mostly I hear about the white lady and the gray lady. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, that's a very common one. Or the blue lady. I've heard that a lot. Or the red lady too. So interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So another anniversary haunting that I came across was in Germany. So these are also white lady ghosts, which in these cases are said to be like harbingers of death and misfortune. So white ladies, yeah. White ladies are harbingers of death and misfortune is funny to me. But anyway, so these ghosts are all associated with residential castles of the Hohenzollern family. I'm really butchering that. I'm sorry. But two people are supposed to be the historical basis of a ghost haunting the Plassenberg, which is one of their residential castles. So, according to legend, the Countess Kunigunda of Orlamunde, I'm so sorry for any Germans listening. I'm very, very sorry. Apparently, she murdered her two children, because she believed this could enable her to marry Albert of Nuremberg, who married Sophie von Henneberg instead of her. So what happened was she became a nun and she died as an abbess of the monastery Himmelskron. Now, a white lady ghost reportedly appeared in 1486, 1540, 1554, and 1677 as a harbinger of misfortune. And they believe that it's this woman, this abbess, that was so distraught that she did what she did. And
what year was that, Jesse, that she murdered her children?
I believe it was 1372.
Wow.
And then so it's like almost every, like 100 years later, and then 100 years after that, but then 10 years after that. So again, not exactly anniversaries, but repeated hauntings in the same area at the same time, the same castle where this all happened.
You think that, I think, oh, things are so bad. And we hear about that nowadays, mothers murdering their children. And actually, I'm thinking of one person specifically who did it for that reason, to be with a guy.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun. I mean, that's in the 1300s, someone did that.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yep.
It's really, really awful.
There's another white lady ghost that's said to be a harbinger of death and misfortune at the Berliner Schloss, which all of these are residential castles of the same family. So they have a lot of drama happening. And she was seen in 1598 and in 1618, 1625, and up until 1940.
Wow.
And it was the residence of the kings of Prussia. And all of the hauntings seem to like happen before a death of someone prominent in the family or something like that. And then the last, this is also another white lady. So all of these white lady ghosts are all in the castles of the same family. So the castle of Dusseldorf is supposed to be haunted by another. And it was built in 1260 and demolished in 1896. And the only thing that was left at that point was an old tower. And according to legends, record keeping at that time, we don't know for sure, but there was a duchess named Jacobine and her lover, and they were murdered by her jealous husband. And it supposedly was her ghost that was seen at this castle in Dusseldorf. And every time she was seen was just prior to a series of fires that plagued the castle.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Super interesting, and not exactly anniversaries on those last few, but repeatedly before a prominent event or some sort of dramatic event that happened. And I thought that was really interesting and related.
Yeah. So, Robin, you want to tell us what you found?
Okie dokie. Well, the first thing I was looking up, I tried to look up why people thought these hauntings might happen. They were talking about the psychic energy because of it was an anniversary and there's a lot of emotion surrounding events like that. So that was the first thing I looked up, and then I have a couple stories here. The first one, there was a letter to the editor of the Clarkston News, where a man named Randy Davison went to Gettysburg on the 150th anniversary of the battle there, and he rode his horse. It was nothing to do with him, but he rode his horse. He'd been training it and wanted to make sure that it was going to, behave itself. And he rode his horse, and the horse got spooked on the battlefield and kept, backing up and looking from side to side. And he said it was almost like the horse was sensing, even though he felt nothing, that the horse sensed something the whole time. Then I have another one. I know that wasn't very exciting. Hampton Court in England. The spirit of what is believed to be Jane Seymour, Henry VIII's third wife, appears on the Silver Stick stairs, which once led up to the room where she gave birth and died giving birth. But I don't know if the room is there anymore because it just said once led up there. But it's on the anniversary of the son's birth in October every year. They say she appears there on the stairs.
So actually, that would have been the anniversary of her death if she died giving birth.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, but it's on the that'd be her.
Right. The birth of her
Invitation.
son was the anniversary of her death.
Yeah.
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 According to this. And
Okay.
then there is a long-standing story at Union College in Schenectady, New York. It was founded in 1795 about a young woman named Alice Van Devere, who was reportedly burned at a stake along with her father after her father went and killed her boyfriend. And the people knew that he had done it, and I don't know why they would have burned him at the stake, but this is the story. And reportedly, people see her ghost around this one garden there every first full moon of summer. It's not like an exact date, but every first full moon of summer, which is like a rough anniversary of when she was killed. But an author did attempt to find out if such a person actually existed and wasn't able to. But who knows with record keeping? But that was one. That was another one. I have three more. I went to on the Mount Vernon website, and there's a story that's told they have it on the website where every year on the anniversary of Washington's death, they hear a clanking of keys in his bedroom, and they associate that with the handing over of his keys to his manservant when he had passed. So that happens every year. And then there's another thing that's not really an anniversary thing, but frequently there are reports of an alarm going off in the stable, and then a short time later it goes off in the bedroom, and they just feel like that is Washington repeating an activity where he, from a long ride, made sure his horse was taken care of, and then returned to his room. Mm-hmm. And then that's interesting. I gotta put my glasses on. Hold on one second. All righty. Here we go. Okay. There's a magazine called the Telegram and Gazette, a Massachusetts paper, and they had a story in there, including a picture of the gravestone where it says Elsie on it, and it was for a young girl named Elsie Newton, and it's located in the Southeast Cemetery in New Braintree. And in the story in the newspaper, it said that there are like several stories that people went around this woman and her fiance, but the main one that seems to be the most realistic was that she died on her wedding day when their carriage crashed, and she lost her head. She was beheaded. So on the anniversary of their wedding in April, she is seen in the area looking for her head. That's what the story said in the newspaper. And then the last one I have is in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. There are reports of a woman in black appearing at the grave of Rudolph Valentino every year on the anniversary of his death. And it's presumed she is Pola Negre, the woman he was engaged to when he died at 31. Mm-hmm. Oh. And that's it. Because there were like a lot of stories, but they didn't directly relate when I would look up for an anniversary thing. Didn't directly relate to an anniversary haunting, so it took a lot of digging and of course all the stories were so interesting. I'm like, oh, I'll read that one anyway.
Yeah. And what you were mentioning when you were looking into like, well, maybe why would this happen, I also was looking at that, and we've talked about before the difference in like residual hauntings and the stone tape theory, and the difference in that and something that's often referred to as an intelligent haunting, where you might have interaction with a spirit, or it does something different every time. And I think a lot of the talk that I saw about things that happen on anniversaries of events like that are often more like a residual haunting. They don't interact with anyone or anything, and are just seen repeatedly kind of doing the same thing, right? Which if it was a traumatic event or like a lot of energy in that area where it happened, that would maybe lend itself to something like that. In theory.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
like make a psychic imprint,
Uh,
and keep repeating.
I think I
That
missed
makes
one of
great
them.
sense.
Hold on one second.
And then I think like Anne Boleyn too, when I was looking into that, like one of the people who was sharing the stories that people tell about seeing her apparition was saying that personally they don't think that she's wandering around, and haunting anyone, but that she left such an impact on people and her story made such an impact on people, that that's why people feel like they see her,
Right.
and I thought that was interesting too.
So did they see her with or without her head?
Both.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes she's without, and often I read stories where she's clutching it, is the word that was used.
That's
Yes,
creepy.
that would be creepy. And then other times she's just herself,
Actually, that's what made me realize I missed a story. It was about the Tower of London and how many sightings there are, and some of them are on anniversaries of when a prisoner was killed. But it didn't say in the story whether people went in knowing these anniversaries or saw, had the experience and then found out. And not that it really makes that much of a difference, but I think you could be influenced too if you were expecting something because it was
absolutely.
Definitely, I agree. Marjorie Deering said, "They're all very interesting stories, but I'm still shaking my head over the woman becoming an abbess after killing her children and over a man besides." Whoa. I know, Marjorie. I was raised Catholic, so it's shocking to me that they're like, "Oh, well, let's make you head of the abbey then."
Yeah, we're just gonna sweep this under the rug.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Well, I guess she went to confession, so
Absolutely.
absolutely got
And
absolved.
back then, might have mattered with how much money her family had.
Well, yeah,
Because
for real. Yeah.
we need to get rid of her. We'll give you this much money if you make her abbess. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, it is shocking though. It really.
She was a countess, so.
Yeah. So her family had.
You're right. There's some recent people in like the last 10 or 15 years that have done the same thing to get rid of, to move on with their life, pretend like the kids didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Which is inconceivable.
Yes, it's like, how do you live with yourself?
So tragic.
I don't know. It's really insane to me. It's crazy.
It is insane. I mean, how can you go on with your life as if those children never existed? You never gave birth to them. You never held them in your arms. You never felt anything, whether it was dislike or love, and then go on as if they never existed. It has to be. I mean, it is insanity. That's just horrible.
It is. It is really horrible. Really horrible. It's inconceivable. I just don't know. In the story in Braintree, I was born in Boston, and we lived there for the first 3 years of my life. But then my family moved to the South Shore, which is where Braintree is.
Okay.
So yeah, so we weren't too far from that. But that's the first time I've heard that story. But of course, Boston's really old, so we have a lot of ghost stories. Actually, I lived in a really haunted house, and I think it was residual. Not sure, but I think it was. Though she did turn and look at me every time she walked through, so. But I don't know. Marjorie said, yeah, people like that must be total sociopaths. I have no other explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, or like they've experienced like a psychological break, right? Like where, something
It-
snaps.
Right. And may not even after the event totally dissociate themselves from it and don't even recall.
Yeah. Yeah. People are really good at dissociating themselves from really bad
And
memories.
they get on the television cameras and say, "Oh, somebody stole my children." Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Right. Very
I know.
convincingly too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Where we
George
all
did
tried.
it.
George just nukes.
It
Let's
worked.
see if this works.
Hello.
Hello, George. I don't know if you've been hearing all of our horrible stories. It's been fun so far, and now Joy, you have another one, right?
Well, mine was like anecdotal. I mean,
Okay.
like
I
on
want
an
an
anniversary. So if
Right
you
here.
have other things, that y'all want, because this is something that happened pretty recent to me that hasn't happened before. And so, I mean, I don't know if anybody had anything else about actual
You're on.
anniversary.
No, I went through my whole list.
This is just something that happened to me. And like last November, about 4 years ago, my brother had the last like 10 years of his life were very difficult, and he had a lot of problems, and he kind of like ended up alienating himself because of choices that he made, and he's about 7 years younger than me, and alienated himself from his family, and despite attempts to help him as I had, because he was always in a financial crisis his whole life, and he had like addictive issues, and despite all of the time and the money and all of the allowing him to stay with us and all of these things that you try to do to try to change somebody and you feel a failure, is that sometimes you just have to realize that you can't. And he had ended up dying a very painful death in the hospital. And the sad thing is that, I mean, he was like down to he couldn't have been more than 70 pounds, and all of the abuse that had happened to his body, and the whole time that he was there, he was like apologizing to me. I'm so sorry I did this. I'm so sorry, which I just felt absolutely horrible. So it was very emotional for my other two brothers and I. But you can't get away from that guilt. Is there something else? Maybe I should have done something else or whatever. But anyway, that happened in November, about 4 years ago. And this last November, which I wasn't even thinking about it, I had a dream that was like so real, and where he was like shouting things at me behind a door, and I couldn't get in, and he was really upset, and it was just a very, very tough dream. And then I had it the next night, but it was a different situation, but similar. And then I had it the next night. Whoa. And so and I'm like, why is this happening? And I just woke up so upset, because it was like, I never could actually see him. And I was trying to get through different things to get to him. And then I guess during the week, after it happened like about 4 times, I started looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and when I went back, it was like the first dream started on the day that he had died 4 years ago.
Wow.
And so, which it never occurred to me, and it wasn't something I was ever conscious of.
Right.
But it was just very disturbing, and I guess it was probably the guilt, because and I'm sure a lot of people that go through that have family members they can't reach,
Mhm.
you know, that happens to, that you just, even though you didn't have anything, we didn't even live in the same state, you know.
Mhm.
Even though you didn't have anything directly to do, you always feel that there was maybe something else that
Mhm.
was right there. But that was why it happened 4 years later and not before. But it was just like all of that like came rushing back through those dreams, and they were so real, you know, like. But anyway, so that was mine.
Do you think that that was him trying to contact you, or that, you know, or do you
Actually,
think
I do, but I don't. You know, as much as I loved him, always he was always the kind of person that felt like, well, if you have this, why shouldn't I?
yeah,
Mhm. Like
You
entitled.
know,
entitled, entitled and
and
selfish?
making you feel guilty because you were, even though he was making the bad choices and
Mhm.
had all of those opportunities, that, you know, I mean, we all, you know, his answer was to give up rather than to fight. You know, like when you have a bad boss and you're like, everybody's had a bad boss, you know, and you trudge forward and you just, you know, you just put your head down with that and you do the best you can and you try to continue to achieve, and you don't give in to those things. And but he was the person that couldn't, you know.
Or wouldn't?
So
Do you
I'm sorry.
remember in the dream, do you remember if you were aware in the dream that he was passed?
No, in the dream, I did not. It was like I was. And it was always behind. He was always behind something or somewhere that I was trying to get to him, and he was like trying to get me to get to him.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I don't know. Maybe later dreams. Maybe I knew that he was got by then because I consciously knew that I was having those dreams.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I don't know why that I had him. I don't know if he was trying to reach out to me to try to get me still feeling like I could help him, because I was always the one all of our lives. I was like the mom.
Yeah.
Um,
He could count
because
on
my
you.
mom just gave it a point where she just got too old to deal with it.
Mhm.
And so I was like the second mom in the house. So I was the one that if he needed something, he always came to. So anyway, so
It sounds
that
like
was,
it's very representative of your experience with him in life. Is
Mhm.
that
yeah,
we're reaching out to him so much and trying to get through to him, but there was a barrier that you
Mhm.
just never could
yeah,
break through. And so you're experiencing that in your dream too.
right.
Sorry that you had to go through that.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. It's disturbing too to think that it might have been him, because he hasn't found any peace. He's still,
Well, and that's what it made me feel like.
yeah.
He still has not found peace, you know, and that
He can,
maybe he's lingering somewhere.
he can though. If, you know, if he ever reaches out to you again, I know that you can help him.
We can always pray for him.
Yeah, actually, in Gettysburg, we actually had a long conversation with a Civil War soldier who wouldn't pass over, who couldn't find any peace, and after we talked to him for quite a while, and you know, through the flashlight, saying yes and no, and we would tell him things, and then he'd respond, and he finally got it. And he felt better, and whoop, off he went.
Yeah.
So,
And I think too, like, especially with things like that your love for him, even though it was that's a very complicated relationship, right? And there's so many layers to it.
Right.
That grief is not linear, and healing is not linear, and trauma is not linear, and that was a trauma you went through.
Mhm.
And I think those things can resurface that way, right? Like where you don't even realize you're struggling with that, and some part of you is processing that still, and they can surface that way, right? So I think like that it could be something like that too. And I heard an interesting thing or theory about dreams, and like if your loved ones show up in a dream that have passed, or just people you knew, or pets, or anyone who's passed. I thought it was interesting that their theory was like if you're aware in your dream that they're gone, that it's like a visitation. Like if you're going in your dream, like, what? Like, how could they be there? You know, that yes,
Right.
you know, like, how are you here? You know, that's like a visitation. But if in the dream that you know you're not aware, and you're just, it's like aren't aware that they're supposed to be dead in the dream, right? That's like more your brain processing it. Obviously, we don't, that's speculation.
Right,
You know,
right.
we
And
don't
like I said,
know.
at first, I don't, I mean, the first one, I don't know for sure what I did as the dreams started happening,
Right.
knew, but, that, I mean, the
used
thing was that when I look back, it was that, and that's what when you said the anniversary thing, that was something that triggered in my mind,
Yeah.
that it just happened. Because I didn't consciously know that it was the anniversary. I had to
Yeah.
look at, I had to question myself. And so, and it could have been that subconsciously my subconscious was aware of it, and that triggered it. That could have been.
I'm really sorry that happened, though.
Yeah.
That wasn't very pleasant 4 days.
No, but I mean, everybody has things that they go through.
Mhm.
And
Yep, we all do. George, in answer to my question if he heard the stories, said, "Yes, I heard. Those stories are even worse than my third marriage."
Hopefully that
To
means
Deborah.
kind of a residual.
Our oldest daughter, Barbara, gets a lot of dreams from family members, and I think they are visitations because they always tell her things. My parents come to her, and Rob's parents come to her and talk to her about things. So I think some people, I think, I don't know what the rest of you think, but I think all of us kind of have unique ways of contacting with the other side. So I don't think it has to necessarily be the same way for everybody. Like,
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah, yeah. So, but that seems to be the way that she makes a lot of contact with psychically, is how she does in her dreams. Me, I feel the presence of the person and feel their emotion, and oftentimes hear what they're trying to tell me. So
And Joy, didn't you have a dream about another family member?
my mom,
Yeah.
yeah, but I knew she was gone.
Right.
I mean, in that dream, we had talked about that, I think.
Yes.
yeah, and that for sure was a visitation. Yeah, yeah. So this could have been too, or like Jess said, maybe, and Beth said, maybe you were
I
just
don't know.
working.
And
Work
like I said, it's nothing. It's something I probably have not let go of, because,
Yeah.
you just always feel like there's something that you could do more.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's just, even when people just lose a family member
Mhm.
and they had nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
they feel, a lot of, and I've known people, maybe if I told them not to go, or I thought about doing this, or, a lot of people have
Survivor's guilt.
survivor's guilt. That's exactly it. But when you feel like it's useless and tragic and
Senseless.
and it's really it's hard, when you can't
Yeah.
relate to that.
Yeah, it's really hard. So, what is the consensus of everybody? Anything to this return on the anniversary of their death, or what do
Well,
you think?
Beth, did you have a story to share too?
I did not about this. I wanted to speak about the full
Oh,
moon.
okay, cool.
The full moon and crystals.
Oh yeah, the full moon that I can't see because of the fog.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But I'll take your word for it that it's there.
It's there.
I'm looking up right now through the skylight, and it's like pitch black out there.
Well, it was interesting because it was Robin. You mentioned you wondered if the people had been told it was the anniversary at the Tower of London because people can be influenced, right? Like
Right.
we know that about our brains, like we can be influenced by things. And I found in my research something that I just thought was really cool to share. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about this really quickly. So Edinburgh Castle in Scotland is notoriously haunted. And let me see. It was in flipping through notes. Okay, it was in 2001. In Edinburgh, they have Edinburgh International Science Festival. And so during this festival in 2001, Dr. Richard Wiseman conducted an experiment with 240 volunteers over a 10-day period at Edinburgh Castle. And the volunteers were visitors from around the world, and they were carefully vetted and chosen so that they had no prior knowledge of Edinburgh Castle's alleged hauntings. And so I thought this was a cool experiment because he was trying to prove whether or not it was haunted, right? And obviously
How many
that
people, Jesse?
240
240. Okay.
over 10 days.
Over
Now,
10 days. Well, that's a long time.
that is a long time. And that is that's, if you're talking about like scientific experiment, that's a small group, right? But but I thought it was really cool anyway. So they were led through the castle vaults, the cellars, and dungeons in small groups. Some rooms had previous reports of ghostly goings on and some didn't, right? So some of the rooms are notoriously things happen there, and some rooms nothing's ever been reported in them. So they took them to all of them and weren't associated with any of the tales, like the legendary stories. They had provided them ghost hunting equipment, so thermal imagers, all the stuff we use, geomagnetic sensors, temperature probes, all that stuff. And they were asked to just investigate and record their experiences without any prior knowledge of the castle. And by the end of the experiment, almost half of the participants reported phenomena they couldn't explain. The highest number of paranormal experiences were recorded in the vaults, which has a haunted reputation. That they weren't prior to this influenced to say, like, oh, there's stuff happening in this room,
Right.
this and this happens,
Mhm.
right? They reported sudden drops in temperature, seeing shadow figures, feeling watched, a burning sensation on the skin. That sounds unpleasant.
Mhm.
An unseen presence touching the face, a feeling of someone tugging at their clothes.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, we've
In
had
my
a couple
head.
of those things happen, haven't we?
Yeah,
So,
and Beth has had the burning sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun.
now this scientist, Wiseman, he's a skeptic, right? And so he did argue that many of the experiences could be attributed to common psychological reactions to being left in an unfamiliar, unnerving environment,
Yeah.
right? Which is true.
Yeah.
But he did admit that it was very intriguing that most people reported
Yeah.
paranormal experiences in the rooms which had reputations for being haunted, despite none of the volunteers having any prior knowledge.
I think that's great. That's awesome. I love scientific stuff like that. Okay, Nathan, I don't want to butcher your name. Nathan Retta said cool, but I think it was about the previous story. But
now, I mean, obviously that's like not, you can't say that's any kind of conclusive evidence either way, right? But I just thought it was really neat. And when you brought that up earlier, Robin, I thought, how funny. That ties in. I know. We're on the same wavelength. And I just thought it was really neat and interesting and cool to have a skeptic scientist try to, it seems more like he was trying to disprove it, right? If I'm being honest.
Right.
But
I found that he couldn't quite.
yeah. And I appreciate that he was like, okay, it could be this, but I have to admit that is intriguing. That's interesting. And it is interesting. That is why we do this, because it's interesting. It's so cool. And I think either way it goes, it's really cool and interesting and fascinating. So
Debunking often leads to proving.
yes.
Well, I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that story is in the Edinburgh Evening News. So I was reading quotes from that story, and it gives a little bit of background of the castle and things too. So just to throw that out there.
So that sounds like a trip we should all take.
Yeah.
I agree. That's what I was thinking. Throw me in the vault, will you please?
No, that castle has like a wild history. It's beautiful, and it was like the most besieged castle because I guess of its location. And it's like built right into the cliffs there in Scotland. So it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think that sometimes I think the atmosphere creeps people out and they do imagine things. I really do, and that's understandable. I mean, we've all been to creepy places where we're like, well, that's really creepy. But, I've said this before, almost all of everything that we know is anecdotal, even though we use instruments and all that kind of thing. There's no way you can really do an empirical test, because with an empirical test, as you said, you need a bigger group, and then you need another group that would be the test group. So there's no way you could do that. So Marjorie Daring says, that's a trip I definitely want to hear about, but I'll stay here. Yeah, well, Beth has had the burning thing. I've had my clothes tugged. Jesse's been flicked. Rob has been flicked.
Pushing on my headphones.
Pushing on your headphones. And jumping up and down on the floor behind.
Oh my God. That was so wild.
Very fun. Not for you so much, Jesse, but we all enjoyed it.
I mean, it really shocked me.
I'm a bad mother, but
we were cheering you on and ready to jump in there and help you.
You're good. You're good. Keep going.
This is great. Keep going.
That was awesome. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
What do you mean you think you got to stop? No, you don't. Come on, girl.
I think I had maybe told this story a while ago about being at my vet's home for a Christmas party and how I was seeing this man in a chair in the corner, out of the corner of my eye. And the thing that made it really strike home to me was that after seeing him multiple times, I walked into the kitchen and I pointed at the chair and opened my mouth. And before I got a word out, the vet said to me, you saw the guy in the corner too, right? So it wasn't like
Cool.
I had no idea prior to that. And it
Right.
wasn't like I said to her, I think I just saw something over there. As soon as my mouth opened and she saw where I was pointing, she knew exactly what I had seen. And to me,
Well,
that
this-
sort of,
Go ahead.
I can't think of the word.
Validation.
validation to what you saw. Yes. Yes. And that it wasn't your imagination, because
Yeah.
you'd both be imagining the same thing, which would be strange.
Right.
The same night that Jessie had that jumping going up and down behind her, that was really bouncing her around, actually, and there was nobody there, obviously. Beth, earlier, when we'd been just outside of that room, there was a docent there in the house that we were investigating. And Beth had said, I just feel really, really sad here. I can feel real sadness. And then she asked the docent, did someone hang themselves here? And the docent said, yes, someone did. So you can definitely pick things up. I mean, that's purely anecdotal, but I believe that
Right.
is,
Right.
I mean, that's validation right there. Beth didn't.
Something's
know that.
happening there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
she said hanging, and it wasn't hanging.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I love investigating because I like to have evidence. I really like to get evidence so that we can show people. And even though we said we've been hit and, scratched and tugged at, it isn't scary. And I realize that may sound a little odd, but it really isn't, scary. There's really nothing to be afraid of,
And it wasn't scary when I got thrown around or bounced around,
Right.
but it surprised me is the thing.
Yeah.
It
I think
was
that's
surprising.
the emotion we feel the most is it's very surprising. It's almost like your brain is not comprehending until later what's
Yes.
actually happening to you. And then you're like, oh, that was kind of creepy if I think about it.
Well, it's like up in Tennessee when we were walking down the hallway on the second floor of that hospital, Les and Beth and Joan and I, and we're walking along in the dark, and all of a sudden, right after the four of us had walked past, this door slams
Really?
right next to us. Now, there was no noise. It wasn't like there was a lot of road noise or, music playing or anything else. It was stone quiet. We were the only ones in there.
Mhm.
And then we go over and the door is permanently shut.
It's sealed shut.
It's sealed shut.
Oh,
There's no
wow.
way that door did that.
But it was a long abandoned hospital corridor.
Yeah.
Okay. And it slammed
So-
really hard and loud, and you could hear it echoing.
That's the kind of thing that makes you go,
Yeah.
what is going on
What
here?
was that?
Yeah. What was it?
Now, would
Why?
that be considered something residual because the door itself physically couldn't move?
I don't know if it was residual or somebody wanting to say, I'm here,
It
pay
could-
attention to me.
It could have been an entity hanging on the other side
Right.
for all we know if they were really
Right,
strong.
Mhm.
It could have been that sound that we heard, but we took when it was a door, so we
Right.
assumed it sounded like the door slammed.
It did to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it felt
Yeah.
like it really wanted our attention, whether it
Right.
was like, get out, we don't want you here kind of an attention, or hey, I'm over here. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But I
It
could
didn't
feel
talk
like
to
it
us.
wanted our attention.
It didn't seem to want to talk. you
Yes,
know?
because we lingered and we tried to communicate in some way and we weren't getting any other communication.
Right.
So it was weird. So maybe it was, I'm trying to sleep, get out of here.
Yeah, this is my area. You should be here.
You're
Well,
making too
then-
much noise out there.
Yeah, exactly.
When we were in the break room, which they had this break room for people that are doing investigations all night long, right? So that you can take a break, have a cup of coffee, glass of water, just sit down and relax. And we were in the break room, and we started picking up on stuff. So we started investigating instead of relaxing. And we've discerned that there were 16 different entities in that one room. Beth got that. Beth heard that over the, over the headphones when we were doing the Estes method. And they said there was 16 of us.
I
Yes.
would
In
hang
the- in
around
the
the
break
coffee
room?
too.
In the break room where there was not supposed to be anything.
Anything.
Right.
And that's why it was the break room.
And you were swarmed.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
that,
had to
that
stop
was
because
the
there were so
best.
many voices.
That was the first time that's ever happened to me. There were so many people trying to speak that it literally sounded like and they were talking fast. They were talking really fast like this, and everybody was trying to jump over. And it was literally sounded like mosquitoes buzzing in my ear after a while. And I was just like, oh, I can't do this. But yeah, and that's the room that wasn't supposed to be haunted. So that was.
They were all taking a break with you.
Yeah.
Well,
they were
Hollis
trying to
says maybe they were
coffee.
taking a break too.
Oh,
Yeah.
They were all complaining about the soda machine was empty.
Yeah.
And at
Coffee's
May
not strong
Stringer
enough.
House, Beth's sister, who's also on our team, was doing the Estes method. And I could literally see her getting hotter and hotter and hotter as she was doing it. And I was starting to get concerned, and I was going to go over and tap her out, and she just took it off and she said, I've got to stop. I'm getting so hot. This is making me so hot from the energy, just
Right.
all that psychic energy. Yeah, sometimes it can be a trip. But we love it.
Yeah. And you had to ask Mom what we all think about the anniversary hauntings.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that if things like that are happening, that it does, to me, seem like it would fit in with the stone tape theory or residual hauntings, right? Where if something like happened there, or if it was a place the person put a lot of energy into or loved a lot, right? Like I could see that happening, but I don't know. I also feel like if there were hauntings that happened, kind of like what I was saying about Anne Boleyn, if her headless ghost and carriage actually did appear every May 15th, like at that location, we'd be able to document it somehow. So it feels
Right.
like
There'd be people there
think
selling
so.
little headless dolls and stuff.
We'd all be
That's probably
Selling them at the corner in a little vendor booth.
so.
It
It
does
feels
make me wonder how many deaths, how many ghosts Henry VIII is responsible for.
I
Yeah.
think Jane Seymour, Anne Boleyn. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure there's more.
Oh, yeah.
she was beheaded for treason.
Yeah.
The treason was she was still married to him and he wanted to move on to the next one.
Yes, I was ready to move on.
the
Yeah.
nerve.
Lordy.
Women, am I right?
So I see Les isn't shaking his head on that one.
Say nothing.
Yeah, he's going to tap out.
Les is like, ha ha ha.
Well,
I think that I think it's difficult to say. I'm not sure what I think about anniversary, deaths. I think that if you love somebody a lot and it's the anniversary of their death, I think you might be prone to, your imagination being really geared up. So
does that increase the psychic ability or
I don't
the
know.
spirit's ability to be able to come through?
Yeah, maybe it does.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
possible.
certainly if their death was a very tragic event,
Yeah.
honestly, the day of your death is going to be the most tragic day of your life. But that it would
Maybe.
create so
Maybe.
much energy, I would think. It would create so much energy that could result in some residual hauntings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what were you going to tell us about the moon?
The moon.
oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's not only just
Crystals.
our first anniversary, but it's the first anniversary and it's on a full moon, which I think is really cool.
I do too.
Yeah.
And it's the first full moon of 2024, so that's pretty special.
Yeah.
And it's also the wolf moon. And I did look up that they call it the wolf moon from the Farmer's Almanac. They say that wolves are very active at this time of year, and they hear a lot of howling. So, of course, howling at the moon, and that's why they call it the wolf moon. So, but if you are a collector of crystals, as I am, a full moon is the perfect time to get those crystals charged and cleansed. And you'll want to take them out and let them just sit outside overnight in the under the moon to get those crystals recharged. And so tonight's a perfect night to do that. Also, tomorrow night would work too, because of course there's going to be lingering of that full moon.
So how do you
Hold them
cleanse
up
a
and dance
crystal?
or anything, or
Nope, just leave them out there and
just put them out there? Okay.
let them do their thing. To cleanse a crystal, there's a few ways. Of course, they're going to recharge outside. Most crystals you can wash, wash them with water, but there are some that are going to fall apart, so you're not going to want to wash those.
Like selenite.
Thinking of like tourmaline or things.
I
like
didn't know if you were talking metaphorically or like it needed some essence of sage or eye of newt or something.
Cleanse them, actually.
Oh, never use eye of newt to cleanse your crystals.
No, don't do that.
Okay, I'll write that down. I'll put it and I'll post-it note over here with the other notes.
Yeah.
I remember.
Never use eye of
Those are
newt.
much too valuable.
And then
I recharge my crystals around. I have a selenite tower, and that's another way you can do it, is you can put your crystals around the selenite tower. But the good thing about the moon is that the selenite can be recharged.
The selenite can be recharged also.
You can't wash the selenite.
You can't wash the selenite either. So
have either of you been in like a giant geo? I mean, where you can go in and you're just really in the middle of a crystal. Have you ever been in one of those?
I would love to do it.
Actually, there's one in on Mackinac Island in Ohio.
Oh.
And we were visiting there with my husband, and I took my son and one of his cousins, and and I didn't know what it was, but it's the same thing as if you have a rock and it's got the crystal all around the middle of it. It's like that,
Good geo.
but it was like is big as a room.
Whoa.
Wow.
And
that was
so I
on
thought-
Mackinac. That was
sorry?
Mackinac Island
Uh-huh.
in Michigan.
Wait a minute. Not
'Cause I thought
Mackinac.
you-
I'm sorry. Oh shoot. You're right. It's not Mackinac. It's gosh. Okay,
It's
I'm
someplace
brain
in
dead, but it's the island north of Michigan. I mean, not Michigan, of Ohio. And okay, I'll send it to you. But gosh, I can't remember. It takes about, I don't know. It's about 20 miles or something in the lake, and it's
Put in Bay.
yeah. Maybe it's maybe it's Put-in-Bay. I can't remember exactly where it was. I mean what the name of it is. But anyway, they get around on golf carts, and the only way you can get there is by boat. And
Paul says there's also one on the island in Lake Erie. That's
That's the one we're talking about.
It's Put-in-Bay.
Put-in-Bay.
Yeah. It's
then
not
it's
a
Put-in-Bay.
Mackinac.
Okay.
It's not a Mackinac.
Sorry, I got confused there. But anyway, it's actually you go down a ladder in it,
Cool.
and And it's about the size of like a small room. And but you people can get in it. And when you were talking about, I wondered like what, it was beautiful. I mean too, but I wondered what like, kind of vibes or whatever you would get from if you really had, you guys have that gift and what it would be like.
Beth can tell you. She knows a lot more about crystals than
certain crystals are going to have an energy, a vibration that's really high, and others are going to be a quieter energy. I'm not sure how to describe that, but a more soothing, quieter energy to them. Okay. So things like an amethyst is going to have a higher vibration to it. So I'm wondering if it was an amethyst. Maybe.
I remember that it was a color. I don't remember if it was pink or. Okay. I don't remember. I don't remember it being white.
That cave is celestite.
I'm sorry.
Celestite.
Oh, okay. That's going to have a higher.
You could probably look it up now that you know it's in Put Bay because it was very unique.
I did, and it says it's a high vibrational. It has a high vibrational energy that activates your third eye chakra, your third eye and crown chakra, and that it's nurturing, spiritual development, balancing and grounding, easing the mind, cleansing your aura, calming and soothing benefits. Sounds like it would be a very nice place to be.
Go there after we go to Edinburgh.
That's a big jump.
To get all calmed and soothed down.
Except for
it's going to open, it's going to clear your third eye and your crown chakra. So
cleanse your aura, anything's
and not around. Always, but if you find the colors of the chakra, the higher the color, the indigos, the purples, the white especially is going to be a higher vibration. The darker or the muddier colors, and this is not always, but for the most part, the darker or muddier, earthier colors are going to be more grounding. So if you want to do something to ground you or protect you, you're going to find something that has a darker, more earth tone color to it. If you are going to work on spirituality, opening up the third eye, you're going to look for the whites and the purples. And yeah, Les has got his little, I don't know if you can see him, probably not. His tiger's eye and jet. And jet is for protection. Jet's probably one of the best ones for protection against negative energy. And tiger's eye, Les keeps that for his memory. It's working great.
I forget what the other one's for.
I'm going to get Adam the biggest tiger's eye.
It's like a selenite tower. Get a tiger eye.
This one needs some moon time.
Working it hard.
Yeah.
But after you put those out in the moon and get them recharged, especially any that you carry, like Les carries some of his crystals, you're going to want to hold on to them and charge them again with your own energy, because it's important to have your own energy used into
Well, I'm going to have to get a crystal to be able to do that. So I'm going to have to get one and experiment.
Oh, we'll get you some, Joy.
Some up in
My favorite thing to do.
Put in Bay.
Do I need it when we go to Gettysburg?
Sure, we're going to have some. We always carry some crystals for protection when we do any ghost hunting. And then you also want some that are going to attract some energy too. So we don't want to put everything off. We want to get
you want to balance it out.
Attract the right energy.
The right energy.
It's about 10 pounds of crystals you have to carry with you through the battlefield.
Just wear like crystal pants.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll wear like an amethyst bracelet and and then one that has tiger's eye and jet and different things like that. Rob and I both have one, like another bracelet like that we can, kind of balance it out.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can also put a vessel of water outside, and it's best if it's in glass, but it doesn't have to be, and make moon water. And
okay.
you can, the moon will charge your water, and you can drink that or make drinks from it or warm it to bathe or whatever you'd like if you would like to try moon water. But I have a funny, cute
It's
little
raining here, so
my grandkids know that I'm into crystals, and they know we do ghost hunting and into a lot of different types of spirituality. And my grandson came over. He was probably about 6 or 7 at the time, and he wanted a drink. And we had a pitcher of Crystal Light in the refrigerator, and he thought it was so delicious. And he was like, "Now, do you grind your crystals and put them in the moon water?"
That's so cute.
So he's like 11 now, and we still haven't told him. Cute.
That's so
yes, we
funny.
grind them into a really smooth powder. Yep.
You can stir them up in there, or do you have to?
Delicious crystals.
I love drinking your crystals, Grandma.
Yeah, when he comes, he still says,
Don't try this
"There's
at
a full
home."
moon. Did you make any crystal light?"
Be quiet, dear. Go eat your Eye of Newt sandwiches.
That's right. Poor little guy. He's going to be surprised when he goes grocery shopping someday.
Look, everybody makes Crystal Light. It's on the shelves.
Well, Jesse's
Big brown crystal.
It does.
Jesse's daughter that just turned 9 is this. She's constantly saying this. First, it was Grin, I really want to go on a ghost hunt with you. And so we talked to Beth about it, and someplace safe that she could go where we're not going to get, the slapping, flicking, burning kind of entities. Yeah. And we were talking about where we could go to do that, and she could see things and hear things. And then she said, one day she said to me, Grin, I've changed my mind. I really don't want to do that. And I said, okay, that's okay. And then she said, a few weeks later, she said, Grin, I want to do that. I want to go on a ghost hunt with you. And I'm thinking, okay, we're just going to wait a while before we do anything like that.
Which is
Because I don't
why
want
we
to just-
have age restrictions for anyone going on any kind of ghost investigation with us, because
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
when they're young like that, they don't understand, and we very impressionable, and we want to make sure that they are old enough to handle
Right.
information that they're getting.
It's also often so boring,
It is-
right? Like for a
Yeah.
kid, like I know her, and
Come
like
on.
10 minutes in, she'd be like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
Where's my iPhone?
yeah, this is not what I thought it would be."
She
So-
really 3 hours of nothing happening, she would be very unhappy.
I want to go. Yeah, it would be a lot of that.
We were talking about George Washington and his appearances. There's a ridge, well, actually it's a hill, Round Top, in Gettysburg that I want to go to, and he reportedly was there and led the troops, the Union troops, and rallied them. Of course, he'd been dead for,
Wow.
100 years, but
Yeah.
he showed up on his horse, and
The horse had a head on it too.
yes, and he had his head
That's
and
good.
led the troops, and they won that battle.
Oh, I've never heard that story. That's
I
really
hadn't
cool.
either.
Yeah. So I definitely want to go there and investigate there. We have investigated there before on Round Top. We've never seen George Washington.
No.
But I'd like to go up there and do some EVPs and, see what we can find when we go there.
Yeah,
That's just one of the places on the, battlefield that I want to go to. There are a lot of places that we can go on the battlefield that are really significant.
Yeah, speaking of which, for all of you that are watching that don't know, we will be going to Gettysburg. Our team will be going mid-June, for a week, and we plan on doing at least one live
If we can.
podcast if we can.
If we can.
We're going to try.
Yeah. If we have Wi-Fi
yeah.
and can do a podcast, we will.
We'll give it a shot.
But not on Facebook.
But probably not Facebook. I'm not
my
very
gosh.
happy with Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Facebook, please cooperate.
I know.
Probably somebody changed something somewhere and they didn't pass the word back around. Well, you got to go click here, or something like that. Something easy, probably.
We're talking to StreamYard about it, so we'll eventually get it.
We'll get it back hopefully for next week. But
Lord help us.
Right. Jesse, do you have a ghost story this week?
Not this week.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, from one of your friends or
No
Adam's
listener
friends.
stories this week.
Another news item is we want to welcome Joy and Robin officially to the Tampa Bay Spirits
team.
Yay, they're our satellite crew.
That's
Wow.
right.
There you go.
Yes,
And
thank
you all are
Honored.
planning on joining us
Honored.
in Gettysburg.
In
as well,
Gettysburg. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes.
We may even do some ghost hunting.
I think we can work it in.
Yeah.
We can work it in.
That's good.
And believe it or not, our next show is going to be on February 29th, which is leap year. So that's the last.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Cool.
fun.
Isn't that cool?
Okay.
Yeah, somebody researched the significance of that, right?
Yeah.
Paul Hollis says, congrats, Robin and Joy. Yeah.
Thank
Yay,
you.
we're so
Thanks,
happy.
Paul.
They
Well-
put in so much work. Beth and
Yeah.
Les said, hey, don't you think we should ask them? We said, yes.
Thank you.
We should have thought of it much earlier
Yeah.
because we would have loved to had put you on the team much earlier.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
We
you.
appreciate
We're
it.
so happy to have you.
It's a really
see-
cool place to go the first round, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
And see y'all more often than some of the other members that are supposed to.
Oh,
I'm sorry. We're live, aren't we? I forgot we were live.
Oops.
Yes.
Oops.
Such a broadcast.
Maker.
I was going to ask Paul Hollis. You're up there by what you call Put in Bay, but if you look at that, it's really Putin Bay. Does that have anything with Russia? I mean,
Yeah.
does it have anything to do with Russia?
Putin Bay.
Hmm.
Now, how do you pronounce it, Paul? Is it
Put in Bay.
put in?
Yeah, that's what I've always heard.
Oh,
It's
put in
separate.
Bay?
It's separate words.
Like
Not the
put
way
in
he
your
wrote
boat.
it.
Yeah, but it is separate. It's put in bay.
Oh, put in Bay. Okay. I didn't know.
It is very small and it's cute. It's a
I
little
will go
tourist
there.
place.
Yeah. When does it warm up? June, July?
For one day in August.
Yep, probably July. But you know, when we lived in Northeast Ohio, and it was like, you know, sometimes you still were wearing a sweater in July. You
Oh, I know.
it just depends on the year and whatever, and it's, you know, like cloudy a lot. It's cloudy a lot up there.
Paul Hollis says, I'm left-handed. I can't write.
That's a crazy
That's
thing
a
for an author to
say.
You can't
He
write.
can write. He's
Yes,
a
you
very
can.
good author, actually. Excellent. Yeah.
He's using a
We,
pencil to put everything in the chat, right?
Yeah.
He's not typing.
We went to visit his brother in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Once in June, I was so cold, I had to go to Nordy's and buy a pair of Uggs. Because we're from Florida. I brought all capri pants and sleeveless shirts and sandals, and I was freezing. And then the
Yeah,
next time
it's like
we
80
went,
degrees here today in January. So
exactly. And this was June. I expected it to be warm. And then we went in August and it was freezing then too, and rainy and gray the whole
Yeah.
time.
Wow.
And I said to one of our nieces, I said, does it ever get hot here at all? And she said, we maybe get 1 or 2 good days a year where it actually is warm, but yeah, it's cold up there.
My cousin came up from Georgia last November, I think, and she was sleeping. I slept out in the couch, and she was sleeping in my bed, and she was wearing a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, long johns, sweatpants, 2 pairs of socks to bed with 4 blankets every night. I'm like, what are you kidding me? She was freezing. I mean, granted, that was when there was the hole in the roof, so it was a little chilly in here, but there was a hole in the ceiling. So it did get
it
down to
was
50
snowing
in
in the room, but come on.
Doesn't she have any grit?
Right.
Quit being such a baby.
Got down to 50 here last week, and we were wearing blankets on top of our jackets, pulling out the furry boots.
Yep.
We had a wind chill of -29 last week, and
Oh
this
my
week it's
I
like
went out to
it
the
hit
grocery
50.
store. It was 32, and I'm like, I don't need a coat.
Oh, it was 36 here the other day here in
Overnight.
overnight in Riverview. And we walked the dog really early. Her first walk is really early. So it was 36 degrees out. And I thought, oh my God, mittens on top of mittens. I was wearing one of those things. What do you call them? You pull
Balaclava?
them over your head and you
or something.
balaclava. I was wearing a
That's it.
balaclava.
Baklava's food.
Balaclava.
I was wearing the
Delicious. And now I'm
He
hungry.
was wearing and eating the baklava. I was wearing the
I'm
balaclava.
hungry.
And I had, wool hat on. I had mittens on. I had a t-shirt, a sweater, a sweatshirt, and a down jacket, and Uggs.
And it was 32?
It was 36 degrees out.
36.
And I was freezing.
The wind chill was 32. So
yeah,
it was justified.
awful.
Yeah.
We escaped to Boca that day.
Yeah.
That
Cold in
was hard.
Tampa.
Key West was looking really good.
It was nice down there.
Oh my gosh. My blood can't take it. It's so thin. It's like, what are you doing? But yeah, we're spoiled here.
We are.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Talk to me though in the summer, then I'm going to sing a different tune.
I like the cold too, but I like bundling up. But yeah, I like it cold.
Right. Because you can bundle up.
Exactly.
You can't like strip
Yeah,
your
I don't
skin
mind
off
having
when
the
it's too
seasons.
hot or anything.
The thing is, if it's that really, really cold with wet bone chilling, it's like you just can't get warm. And unless you go and like take a hot shower, it's just like you can just put as much as you want on, and it's just like you can't get warm.
Yeah.
Sure, you have to change your clothes too much because it's 30 in the morning and by afternoon it's 60 and 70 degrees out in the sun. It's like it's like rah, too bad, right? Isn't that sad?
Yeah. Well, we feel for you people there in Florida.
Yeah. We've got some problems.
Meanwhile,
That is so true.
I mean, just beaches and palm trees.
We
People.
definitely have problems here in Florida.
Too much people.
Tropical breeze problems. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't survive back up north again. I was raised up there, but
Yeah.
Your body gets used to the warmer temperatures.
Yeah, they tried that on us when we were little. It doesn't.
Well,
You do get used to the warmer.
I grew up in Iowa in the Midwest and
No,
didn't know any different. Didn't know, but that's what winter was. And we moved down here I went without a coat for 2 years, I think.
Well, that's true though. Lots of times you don't have a coat. We didn't really invest in a lot of jackets until we started traveling to the mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, better buy a down jacket.
My kids are true Florida kids because we went to Disney on one of the cold days and they were like, I better put on my Colorado pants. And they call them their Colorado pants because they're the only pants they have. They only wear shorts. And I bought them for them to go to Colorado with my parents this past summer. So they're like, oh, Mom, I got to get my Colorado pants. I'm like, oh, God, you are.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And they only wear sandals. So,
Yeah.
That's the way it is here in Florida. Flip-flops and shorts. That's it, folks.
I was outside shoveling and the wind was blowing and I have to confess, I had on leggings, sweatpants, knee socks, my boots, a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, my sweatshirt, my coat, hat and gloves and the scarf because that wind was horrible and you're out there, flinging snow and it's blowing in your face. It was just freezing.
You look like the kid from The Christmas Story.
Oh yeah, I needed to stick my tongue up against it.
I can't put my arms down.
Well, you won't remember this because you were too little, but you didn't grow up in all the snow, Jesse, but the other kids did. And it was like we lived in Michigan and it was so cold there and they had a lot of ice storms. Those are the worst, man. And snow, and the kids would want to go out and play in the snow. And so, at that point, I have 6 kids, but then it was really only 4 that were old enough to go out and play in the snow. And so I'd get them all dressed in all the same amount of clothes that Robin just described for herself, except for each kid. And they would walk out like this. That was the only way they could walk, right? They'd get outside. They'd be outside for 15 minutes. They'd come in and they'd go, I'm cold. So you take all of that stuff off again, right? Yeah, or I've got to go to the bathroom. You take all of that stuff off, right? They're in the house for another 15 minutes and then they go, I want to go outside and play in the snow again.
No.
That was my life in the winter. Oh my gosh.
My middle son was infamous for having to go to the bathroom as soon as he got out in that with all those clothes on. I gotta pee.
It takes forever.
It does. You just strip them all off, put them all back on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just checking my phone because I have to take my daughter-in-law to the doctor tomorrow. She's just confirming the appointment.
How old are your kids, Jess?
11 and just turned 9.
Okay.
Been a long time since mine were that age.
Yeah, they're very funny, but
They're our youngest grandchildren. I mean, we have a great grandchild now, so a lot of our grandchildren are adults.
Wow.
Those 2 are our babies.
yeah.
And they're growing up really fast.
Kids are almost senior citizens.
I hear you.
Some of our kids are senior citizens.
Almost senior citizens. That's what I said.
Some of our children are senior citizens already.
Yeah.
My oldest got some mail today and he opened it and he goes, oh, thank you. It was an offer. He's in his 40s only, but it was an offer. Now that he turned 55, he's like pushing it.
It's like, wait a minute.
Don't rush me.
When did I turn 55?
Yeah, our oldest is 57, so she's definitely a senior citizen.
That is not a senior citizen.
I say you're not a senior citizen until you hit 90.
I believe that.
Unless you want a discount.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Then I have a ways to go. I'm really excited. There won't be a senior citizen for
I'm
a
like,
while.
in fact, I said one day, I said, I'm just hitting midlife now. I think it was when I was 55 or something. And my brother's like,
You
you're
live
not
to
living until you're
110?
110.
And you were like,
I said,
don't
"You
tell
never
me
know."
what I can and cannot do.
That's exactly. Don't
That's
you
right.
tell me.
Age
do
is
what
a
I want.
frame of mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
can be
does
Fortunately,
and do
your
as much
body
as you
doesn't
want to.
always listen to your mind.
does anyone in the audience
Yes.
or in our group here have an idea of a topic for next month that they would like to explore?
Well,
If you
I
do,
was
Oh,
go
oh
ahead.
no.
about because of Valentine's Day, maybe romantic hauntings, but then leap year is very intriguing also.
So frogs.
Maybe we could do
Frogs.
maybe we could do both. Look up leap year and
Yeah.
romantic.
Yeah,
romantic
I already
frog.
have 2 stories for romantic hauntings, so
I could bring
Yeah.
this one back up again where
that
what
one
the heck
was
was his
pretty
name?
romantic.
Rudolph Valentino's fiance.
Yeah,
had
that's
Yeah.
a romantic haunting for sure.
Yes.
Well, you know, someone left flowers on his grave every year on the day of his birthday. Did you know that? The date of his birth?
No, I did not.
And I don't know if it has continued. I know it did for many, many years, but I think perhaps whoever was doing it has since
Wasn't that
passed
in the
away.
story?
Huh?
Wasn't that in one of the stories today?
No, that
That
was
they
about
were-
his fiance visiting his grave on the anniversary of his death.
Somebody, one of
she did.
Marilyn Monroe's husbands did that too. Ex-husband.
DiMaggio. Joe
Yeah.
DiMaggio.
Joe
Yeah.
DiMaggio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
At least pretty sure. Did he? Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought it was him.
Who's the Mr. Coffee guy? Which
Wasn't that
Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah.
Jumpin' Joe.
yeah, jumping. Okay, then that is who it was. That's how I remember. I call him Mr. Coffee.
Yeah, he did a commercial.
Not big sportos in this family.
Not at all.
You could tell.
I remember him from the Mr. Coffee story. And I know
I'm sure that that's how he wants to be his legacy remembered.
Yeah.
It's like I'm
He
going
drank
to change my whole story, my whole history here. I'm going to hopefully I'll be known for Mr. Coffee.
But he did. He loved her. I think until the day he died. You know, he never got over her. Yeah.
So we want to do romantic hauntings that happen every 4 years, right?
Yeah. Should be a piece of cake. Should not be difficult at all.
Should be a lot of those.
What are we wanting to look into for a leap year? What are we?
I don't know. I just thought maybe there might be something paranormal that goes along with leap year. Have to look
Okay.
it up,
That extra day.
Like legends
legends or something.
surrounding it or
Yeah.
something. Okay.
Your legends. It has a
I'm
nice ring. to
sure
it.
there's something.
Love the alliteration.
Yes.
When we were talking about, you know, people coming back on the anniversary of their death, I was thinking that maybe some of that also comes from the fact that, you know, a lot of people feel that ghostly apparitions and entities are here because they have unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of that has to do with them coming back because they have unfinished business, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which,
Maybe.
you know, I don't think that that's all ghosts, but I do think that's definitely some entities are because they have unfinished business.
Right. Right.
And I think I talked about this before, because if you think about it in that way, or you think about the person being stuck here or something, or like in a limbo, that is a bummer.
Yeah.
But I did, and I think I mentioned this before about a theory that I heard that, you know, almost like what we were talking about earlier, Joy, with what your dream that you had, and how, you know, that maybe was something paranormal, or it was maybe something that your brain was working on. You had no even idea, right? That you were
Mhm.
subconsciously aware that it was the anniversary of that
Right.
happening, maybe, right? And
Mhm.
how sometimes you can not even realize that you are thinking about a certain thing, but there's part of you um that is, and not saying that's what happened there. I was just using that as an example for what I mean by that. Like sometimes you can not even realize something's bothering you or thinking about something until it comes up later, right? And you're like, oh, I've been wiped out or exhausted and I didn't understand why. And it's because I've been stressing out about this thing, but I didn't even know it.
Right.
And the thought that sometimes like these hauntings, like the thing with the unfinished business or stuff like that, like maybe it's not fully that person, but it's the part of them that was really focused and putting so much energy into that one thing or one event, right? Like it's almost
Mhm.
like a fragment of that person, or the part of their energy that was really focused on that thing
Mhm.
can't rest, but that maybe the rest of their consciousness is actually at peace and resting somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if we're speculating about all this stuff and we don't know, I thought that
Right.
was a really cool
Yeah.
idea.
Right.
Like maybe, I don't know. And it's less
Mhm.
sad to think of it that way.
Right.
Because if there's most of your consciousness, but you know, a part of your your consciousness was so focused on that thing that it needs to feel some sort of resolution before it can be at peace or whatever. But it's
Yeah,
much nicer to
That
think
makes
of it that
sense.
way.
nobody wants to think of anyone being stuck here.
No.
Right.
Especially like the kids and stuff like
Oh,
that. And
that
that gets real, that's tough, you know.
Yeah.
It's tough to think about. So I just think that's an interesting thought and thing to think about.
Mhm.
yeah, the story that Adam's friend wrote in and that
Mhm.
you read, Jesse, about the little boy, and
Mhm.
the mother had said, "Well, he can come to the store with us," and she said, "No, he can't leave
You can't
the
leave.
basement."
Yeah. It's really
Mhm.
sad.
I would hate that, you know.
Yeah.
But I know we have investigated where we've um, encountered children, and it's
Mhm.
sad.
Yeah.
Like that little boy at the hospital when in Tennessee that we were talking about when the door slammed, there was a little boy there that played with a balloon that we had
Yeah.
constantly, was batting it around. That's
Very
sad.
sad. Very sad.
Super sad to think about. But if you're thinking about it in terms of maybe most of their, you know, consciousness is actually at peace resting, right? And then like that's like a part of them that was really impacted by that event or place or whatever.
Lying in the
I don't know.
hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that might be why sometimes it seems like uh, it's fragmented, like any sort
Mhm.
of interaction is fragmented, like they don't quite understand
Mm,
where they are or what they're doing there because they're not all of them is there.
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an
I'll
interesting
tell you,
concept.
Yeah.
communicating with the dead is really difficult trying to get it on EVPs or on film or, you know, it's just, it's really hard. Now, when Jesse was doing the Estes method in the May Stringer house, that was the best. that I've ever heard. We were asking questions and getting direct answers. Like
Yes.
when Beth said to the entity who was speaking over the headphones to Jesse, right? Beth said, the last time that I was here, I was scratched. And Jesse immediately said, oh, that was the cat. And I mean immediately. And she couldn't hear what we were saying.
Beth was
Right.
across the room.
And Beth was way behind us,
Behind
and
you.
we were way away from Jesse. And
In fact, I said that was the cat, and I went cat. That was the cat, because I remember that because I
Immediately.
remember thinking, what does this mean? I was like, it can't be cat, but I'm hearing cat, and so I was like, that was the cat. I don't know, and I'm thinking this is probably nonsense, but they were.
the whole
Meanwhile, they
team
were like,
burst
oh my
out,
god.
Yeah, we were like, oh my gosh.
burst out laughing. We were like, oh, that was the cat. And we thought in that particular entity had been really funny
Really.
and trying to entertain us all night long, right? And
Whoa.
oh,
He kept making me do that. For anyone who doesn't know, I kept hearing whoa, like this weird
like a
opera
ghost sound,
sounding.
like a
Yeah,
ghost
and it was
sound.
like
Whoa.
very clear he wanted me to do it, and I was like, so I kept doing it. I kept laughing, being like, I don't know. I'm like blindfolded and like sitting in the dark, going like, "Oh!" And I kept laughing. I was like, "I'm sorry." It was very playful, but
Yeah, it was really funny to listen to too, but to say that was the cat because Beth thought he had scratched her.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's why she mentioned it, like, hey, why'd you scratch me? And
that was
so
another instance. Yeah.
we were telling the docent afterwards, and she stopped dead and she looked at us and she said, there is a ghost cat. And we were like, what?
That's another one of those times where we had no idea and
Right.
we didn't know, and other people had reported that too. So that was one of those cool validation things.
Yeah. But I've never laughed so much as talking to that entity.
Look at that.
Oh,
how was that? Or,
we had been.
What was that?
Did you see that?
Did you see that?
We had been trying to do the flashlight communication with him all night, and it wasn't turning on or off or anything. I mean, it was off. It never turned on, which is really unusual. We usually have a really good communication with that. And so while we were asking questions and Jessie was answering after she heard what he said through the headphones, all of a sudden the flashlight turned on. It was sitting all by itself on top of a trunk, and all of a sudden it turned on really bright in this dark room, right? And he said through Jessie, did you see that? Just like that. Did you see that? You're like, you've been asking me all night and I did it and you're not saying anything. Yeah, it was
amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it was. And he was funny. I thought he was really funny. I really enjoyed that. And when we went downstairs, the docent said, we heard you laughing. We said, yeah, we had a lot of fun.
We're going on 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours? Oh my gosh, we should probably let people go.
We probably should.
Let my people go.
Anybody have anything else they would like to share?
I'm good.
We're good.
No, it's fun.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening and joining us. And if you have any stories, let us know so that we can read them, or you can read them, or you can tell them, whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Bye-bye.
Until next time.
Bye.
That's all.
See ya.
Bye.